The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and/or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Yes, indeedy, less is always more here on Damn You Hollywood. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your international man of mystery, the man behind the green door. Don't look behind that curtain. Pay attention to the big flaming head. Ladies and gentlemen, he's gone again. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back again. Let's see how long we have him for. I don't even want to move his box. I want to do other things to his box. Arrgh. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the perpetually annoyed Robert Winfrey. Yay!
Apparently, it's not reading my camera today, so
It was.
it was earlier, and then we went away, and it decided that no, it doesn't recognize it anymore. So
apparently, it saw your Miskatonic shirt and said, "Nope, screw that."
I think I know what's causing that, but I don't want to fix it right now because I don't know what that'll do. So
Super.
Okay, so you're just hosting from the void tonight then.
Hang on, let me try very briefly.
Hey, Alexis, we're going to talk about Fantastic Four First Steps tonight. What's your thoughts on the long and storied history of Fantastic Four movies?
It is almost hilarious. Before this, we had 4 Fantastic Four movies, one of which never got released, the other which probably shouldn't have been released.
Okay, different question for you, because you've been working the convention circuit for how many? It's simple mathematical question. You've been working the convention circuit for how many years?
13 to 14, something like that.
How many copies of Roger Corman's Fantastic Four have you come across in your various strolls through conventions?
You'd actually be surprised, not that many.
Really? Because when I used to go to comic book conventions back in the days of yore, I had a copy of the Roger Corman. I also had a copy of Song of the South on DVD.
Isn't it available?
A bootleg.
Isn't it available on YouTube now? I mean, that's the big thing, is that if it's a bootleg that you can't find anywhere online, it's one thing. If this shit's available on YouTube or any of the or Daily Motion or any of the other video sites, then what's the point of owning the VHS?
Well, again, could we stay in one time period and not keep bopping around, Rick and Morty? I'm talking about a time where there was no internet.
I know.
Back in the old days, if you wanted to own a naughty piece of media, you had to have it on either VHS or DVD.
I know. I saw Pam and Tommy. And I'm not that young, thank you.
So my point is that these were treasured items back in the day. Yes, they've been reduced to zero value because a lot of the stuff is up online somewhere. Speaking of which, did you know the Basketball Diaries was actually not available for streaming at the moment? I think it's coming to Netflix. Yeah, I think it's coming to Netflix shortly. They've made a page for it, but it has the little bell thing that says, remind me when this is here.
Yeah, the notification alert.
Yeah, but it's not streaming anywhere else. I had to go to fedupmovies.com. That's where I had to go to watch the Basketball Diaries. But anyway, back to the Fantastic Four. Yes, the Roger Corman ashcan version used to be one of those treasured finds at the convention, at the comic book conventions. But you're saying you didn't run afoul of them very much.
No. Like I said, I think it's easier to find online now. So most people are just like, why would I pay for this if I can just, do a little searching to make sure that my firewall protection is dialed down just a tiny bit. And then hopefully I don't end up with computer herpes.
Have you watched all 4 of the Fantastic Four movies?
No, I've seen most of the Corman one. I actually haven't sat through the whole thing because the few versions that I have found online have been horribly damaged. I mean, and unfortunately, this is kind of like in the same vein of the Star Wars holiday special.
Sure.
It's that if you find it, you better pray to God somebody recorded it and they treasured that film reel. Like it just was like, oh, no flash photography, you can't damage this. So, and I will admit, I refuse to sit through the Fan 4-stick one all the way. I've seen most of it. And I joked to someone who's like, why don't you watch them? I'm like, because I got tired of constantly upping the brightness on my screen because apparently this director doesn't know how to turn on a light.
Yeah, it's kind of like that one episode in the final season of Game of Thrones. Like, why is this black on black? I don't understand.
Yes.
I have talked at length about, and I just released a series of TikToks leading up to the Fantastic. I wanted to do an experiment where if I did a week's worth of TikToks leading up to the movie, would I get more or less traction when I talked about the new one? Would the algorithm promote me more? Turns out the answer is no. But I tried. God damn it, I tried. But kind of going back through the Long Road to Ruin, Robert and my Fan 4-stick review, and Robert and Pat's now famous podcast, Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, Dr. Doom, which we did a competition back then. It was Robert and Pat doing Dr. Doom and me and Robert doing the Joker to see we were going to determine the popularity of the character based on who got the highest number of listens on the podcast. Pat, I don't know why I bet. Pat and Robert's Doom podcast by far and away beat the Joker.
And actually had a guy approach me about, I think it was like 5 years ago, approached me at a con, asking if I would like to talk about our Lord and Savior, Dr. Doom. To which I actually said, no, do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior, Hal Jordan? And it was hilarious. He went with it. This guy clearly was like, oh, okay. He wanted to go. So he and I went back and forth until I was like, dude, I got to go to my table on the pros and cons of which one would be the Lord and Savior. And it was just so funny.
I remember back in 2005, like I liked the Fox Fantastic Four, the first one.
The script on it. I'm sorry. It's my same complaint with the Avatar movies. I just couldn't get over how bad the script is. It was some of the most contrived writing I have ever sat through, ever.
The first one or the second one? Because I think the second one, yes. I don't know if I agree about the first one.
Oh, both. Like, your time is now. No, it's clobbering time. I'm like, that is the... I was just like, what the fuck am I watching?
Here's where I'll meet... Jesus.
Please don't die on us.
Here's where I'll meet you in the middle. I think my opinion at the time when I saw it in 2005, and I think I repeated this to Sean on Long Road to Ruin back then when we reviewed it, was the first one just feels like a very bland family movie. Like, yeah. I don't think it really got at the heart of what the Fantastic Four really was. But I think if you don't know the comic book and you just went to the movies for a kind of fun, a fun family-friendly action science fantasy movie, then I think they largely achieved that. The problem with the second one is that it doesn't even do that much. It goes full on, and I said this in the TikTok. It goes full on into sitcom humor, and it never really gets out of there.
Yeah, just the very first few scenes, it's like oceans are freezing. There's unprecedented snow, but the real story is the upcoming wedding between. I'm just like, shoot me. Yeah, literally, it's like, I'm sorry. It is, again, I cannot stand how bad the script is for these movies. They are just such bad writing, such bad dialogue. And obviously not a Jessica Alba fan. I've never liked anything she's been in. I don't think she's a good actress. Sorry.
Are you with us, Robert, or are you still having...
No, I'm here.
Okay. Well,
It's
I don't know.
just
You've disappeared 5 times.
I've tried a couple of different things. It just is apparently not gonna work tonight, and this is what I get for not closing down Teams, which opens up automatically on occasion.
Okay. Well,
And
let's.
because that has access to my camera, in
Mhm.
theory, it messes with some other stuff. So I'm out of that, but it's just being weird at the moment. So I'll just this is what we got.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a host from the void.
There was a whole period where his computer was on its deathbed, and
My old computer, yeah.
Yeah, so I got used to this real fast.
So,
So
well, I mean,
Robert,
I remember, like, what was it, 3 months where I was from the void for medical reasons.
Yeah, give or
Yep.
take.
So,
now that we've done that trip down memory lane, so Robert, we're doing Fantastic Four tonight. There's a lot of
Yes, we are.
hearing with Alexis, and we were sort of kicking the ball around. There's been a lot of Fantastic Four content here on this channel. Anything? I don't necessarily need a recitation or soliloquy about your hatred of everything that's ever come out. But if you have a memory or two you would like to share with the group of our vast and sundry coverage of Fantastic Four media, or The Incredibles for that matter, the real Fantastic Four.
It's still the best Fantastic Four movie.
Yep. But anyway, if you've got a memory you'd like to share from our years and years and years of podcasts, what do you got for me?
I remember that the Force Stick was such a nothing experience. The only way I could describe it was that I know time passed, images were projected onto a screen,
dark images.
but that was it.
So I remember us hilariously laughing at that movie. I remember there was a long discussion about how the stuff behind the scenes was better than the movie itself. We spent a while talking about that. But actually, my favorite memory of Fan Force Stick was not us talking about it or anything related to a podcast. It was the urgency in which I had to go see this movie. I think I may have told Melissa that day, like it was like sometime during the day at a time that I wouldn't have normally gone to see a movie, that I was leaving. I had to go see this thing. It was like this and the original Avengers movie, and maybe Avengers Endgame, where I was like, I don't care about being a dad. I don't care about being a husband. I'm shirking all responsibilities. I must go see this movie, and I must be left alone to go do this. And with 2 of those, you can understand it. And one of those, you're like, really, Fan Force Stick? The reviews on it were so bad, and like there was such like unintentional hilarity coming out of that movie. I needed to know for myself, Robert. I just needed to know how bad this thing really was. I was not disappointed.
I feel so bad for the director. The guy made Chronicle, which is an underrated film.
I refuse to feel bad for him.
Well, he went out on Twitter and said flat out this was not his movie. This was apparently he apparently went the way of Zack Snyder with the studio editing the hell out of it. The only difference is there is no release the trank cut.
Mostly because he didn't finish it. He was fired most of the way through it because he had mismanaged it to such a degree that it was an unsalvageable mess.
And then you can play a fun game called Take a Shot every time you see Kate Mara wearing an obvious wig.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a reshoot.
The real story here, shut up. The real story here is, so 2 things happened with this movie. One, Josh Trank wanted to do like a psychological body horror movie, which I don't know if Fox even paid attention to his pitch. I kind of got the impression that they just hired him and they were like, and he's like, I have a pitch for Fantastic Four. They were like, great, go make a Fantastic Four movie. Make it like Chronicle. And he was like, don't you want to hear my pitch? And they're like, no, just go make Fantastic Four. And, make us a hit, pal. You're hot. You're hot right now. And so he goes and he makes his movie, and dailies start coming back to executives. They're like, what the fuck is this? So like on set, I think he was a psycho, but in his defense, Fox kind of gave him a blank check and said, go. And so he starts doing, and then they get wind of what he's doing. They're like, what Lovecraftian monstrosity are you making here? We're trying to make a hit here, pal.
Never mind that he also was so insufferable about his casting choices not going through that he made everyone's life hell until they were going to quit.
Yeah, there was enough blame to go around.
But did they really want to hit? This was a movie that was made just because they were about to lose the rights to it, and it was like the studio going, "Oh well, just how much can we scrape together for this and go make a Fantastic Four movie?" This was,
no,
there's a reason.
Alexis, they had to have wanted to hit, or they would have just let him make whatever. If they were just make an Ashcan copy, do whatever you want with this, there wouldn't have been studio interference. There's studio interference because he's making something that goes against the grain of what they think is a crowd appealing movie is. They hired him because Chronicle was good and it made him a big name. There was no necessarily a vision of what Fantastic Four should have been, and I don't think he was clear, and I don't think they asked him what his vision was, and this got so far away from both him and the studio. That's why the story about this is so hilarious. But so then he basically gets minimized out of the picture. And then Fox takes over. Then they have to re-edit this thing, and I do remember this part of the podcast. And then we can move on. Us talking about like the montage of stuff with the Thing, and like there was obviously footage of the Thing doing action stuff, which they cut out of the movie, and you and I both were like, what a weird decision this is, that the studio that wants a crowd pleaser cuts the only action out of the movie out. Do you remember that, Robert?
I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember a review I watched saying it's like, okay, so we have this footage of the Thing, but you know what's even better? Us watching a bunch of people in a room watching the footage of the Thing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I was really excited to kind of transition into the plot synopsis. I was really excited when Disney bought Fox, and there was an opportunity to incorporate the Fantastic Four into the MCU.
And it took them a decade and a half to do it.
It took them a decade and a half to do it, and which is a strange decision, but here we are. I was really looking forward to this movie, and then it's been a long, strange trip, kind of like Superman. It's funny how the movies really mirror each other, because both had situations where there were reshoots, both had really bad test screenings, both had rumors, possibly, just true things that changed along the way, that there was more focus on the lead woman than there was on anyone else because of the age that we were living in when those decisions
I would
were made.
bet money that in the case of Sue Storm, it was true and they reshot it and they saved it. Well, they salvaged it.
I would agree with you, but I'm telling you that was also what was said about Lois, but I don't want to talk about Superman just right now. My point is, both Lois and Sue Storm, both things were said about them, that like the movie is based on them, and then people got wind of that, and I guess they were test screenings, and they were like, no, let's not do the exact same thing we keep doing wrong. So going into this, I mean, Galactus looked good. I'm not one of the people that got fucking excited about the whole gender swap on the Silver Surfer. I know why they did it. At the time they made that decision, there wasn't enough women in the movie. They needed another gal character, so they made one. The fact that it drives some of like the hardcore comic fans as crazy as it does is a conversation I don't feel like having anymore. Like I'm just now recently finding my way back to myself again. I don't want to go down the road I went down during the time of the Thunderbolts. But overall, I think this is low hanging fruit comment. This is the best iteration of the Fantastic Four on film yet. That isn't The Incredibles, but it doesn't mean it's perfect. So with that said, Robert, take it away.
Okay. So we're on Earth 8387653001 or whatever the hell it is.
Jessica's your number. I wanted you just to hear me sing.
They actually named it 828 after Kirby's birthday. So.
Okay.
Who fucking cares? It's more funnier if it's 8675309.
So this time on MCU World 90210.
Nick.
This is the world of the Fantastic Four, and we open with a TV host of the late night variety giving us a recap of how they went into space and how they got their powers and how now they're just the bestest. And we have rewarped the entirety of geopolitics around these four people. And everything's going okay. And we also get the news that Sue Storm is pregnant. And Reed is a little bit nervous about this because they both have wildly warped DNA, but they're happy to have a child on the way. So, that's all fun and games. Then someone who I was reliably told by someone in the chat is not the Silver Surfer, because despite being both metallic and riding a board, is never referred to as such. Ergo, the chromium cruiser just kind of blasts on in here and says, "I herald Galactus, the end of you." And then she, just pisses off after delivering a monologue. But Johnny Storm follows her up into the atmosphere. He waves at Black Widow as he goes past her. And he grabs onto this board. Looks a lot like a surfboard, but this can't be a surfboard because this is not the Silver Surfer. So he grabs onto the bronze bobsledder here.
Okay. How many more of these you got in you?
I have a list.
He warned us last night. He said he had a very long list.
I don't want
to
curb your creativity, but I just need to know. You got more of these?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Would you like the list when we're done?
No, I just want you to get on with this, but I needed to know for myself where this was going.
Oh, there's a lot. I looked up a lot of different metals and then spent a lot of time coming up with different both methods of perambulation or just synonyms for movement.
Hit it, Johnny. Sorry.
So Johnny falls.
Hit it, Darren.
So Johnny falls back to Earth looking rather like one of the war boys from Mad Max Fury Road. With a bunch of silver all over his mouth. Get it?
Oh, for God's sakes.
Please don't wait for us to get the joke. Just keep going.
So he falls back, and all the Fantastic Four gather together, and they're like, well, we can now track the energy signature from the strontium sprinter over here. And it traces back to all of these different locations where planets went away. So we think she's probably telling the truth. And what are we going to do about this? And Reed goes, well, let me take my heavily pregnant wife and you two chuckleheads, and we'll travel to the far reaches of space and confront it. Nothing will possibly go wrong. Everyone goes, you know what? You're right. Nothing could possibly go wrong. This will be great. So they take the robot, they get in the spaceship, and they travel across the galaxy to a planet that is being devoured by Galactus and his machines, the planet-devouring monstrosity. And they're like, well, this is not going to go well. He actually does eat planets. And they are approached by the tungsten traveler, who takes them down into the bowels of the machinery after he catches them with his tractor beam that he will never use again, despite it being powerful enough to arrest this particular spaceship. And while they're going, Johnny flirts with the creature because he's sort of been learning her language, and everyone else is like, well, we should try to discover some kind of tactical advantage we can gain over this thing. And they go see Galactus, a very large Cockney gentleman in a funny hat. Sorry, the actor is from that part of England, so I had to keep that in there.
We got it.
And Galactus says, man, I'm hungry. I'm really hungry. Like, you don't understand how hungry I am. And then he scans all of them and he goes, hey, you have a child with unlimited cosmic power. And Reed goes, but our tests. And he goes, the child's lying to you. It has a defense mechanism. Trust me. You give me the child. He will take my spot. I will return to mortality and be free of this godforsaken hunger that drives me to consume everything. And your planet will be all right. And, go ahead. And Reed goes, no. And Sue goes, no. So they leave. They race back to their ship. They escape the immediate vicinity of Galactus. They are chased, however, through a wormhole by the old aluminum ambler, who they eventually trap in a bit of a time dilation area because they get close to something approximating a black hole, get her just close enough to have the time shift become relevant, then they leave. Really, whoever made this movie had seen Interstellar again recently and wanted to reuse assets from it, so that's where we are with this. So they go back home, and like, well, she'll eventually get out of that, because the time dilation is a thing, but it's not a permanent solution. And Galactus is still going to be coming here, so we got to figure out something. And they land, and the press is there like, hey, great people, tell us how great things went.
Sing us songs of your victory.
And Reed, the world's smartest man, decides not to lie. Just says, no, we didn't beat Galactus. And they go, What do you mean you didn't beat Galactus? You beat everybody. You're our heroes and our protectors. And he went, yeah, look, we didn't do it yet. I mean, we got, hang on. We couldn't do it. He asked far too high a price. Oh, by the way, Sue went into labor during the space trip home, and now Franklin Richards is here. He's like, yeah, he said that if we gave up our son, he'd leave the Earth alone. And everyone goes, well, then you give up your son. Till very recently, it was just a clump of cells, right? Sorry.
Listen, the way we treat children on this planet, this is not a problem. You
Yeah.
You heard about the kids in Alabama. Like, just give the space monster your baby.
So everyone goes, okay, you guys are jerks. Now public opinion has turned against them. And they start trying to figure out ways to deal with this while dealing with a newborn. And Reed can't think of a way out of the problem. And public sentiment turns against them. And Ben Grimm, while walking the streets of New York, senses that something is amiss with the natives. So he goes back to the building. He's like, it's getting kind of bad out there. And he turns on the television. It's like, well, there's a Galactus death cult in India. And there's a mob forming outside the Baxter building. And Sue walks down, and nothing mollifies a group of flat cardboard NPCs like choosing the right dialogue option, and she does that, so everything's good now.
I believe she said, you have to do better, Senator.
Probably.
I love modern writing gives so much agency to nagging. Please continue.
But some of the things she says gives Reed an idea. You see, earlier in the movie, it was revealed that he unlocked teleportation. Just a minor little thing there, nothing big. But he's figured out teleportation. Now he goes, okay, so if we build enough of these teleportation devices around the planet, we can then teleport it way to the other side of the galaxy, if not the universe. We'll find another star, put it in the same area. It'll all be hunky-dory, and we'll be so far away from Galactus that with his slow ship, he'll never actually get through here to reaching us. And everyone goes, you know what? We don't have a better idea. So we will rally the world together because Sue's in charge of the UN, and that is an organization that has merit in this universe, I suppose, which is about the least believable thing in it. So they start building all these teleportation bridges, and it's going okay. And Galactus enters the solar system, and we see him moving by Jupiter. He gets through the asteroid belt, and he's just kind of slowly making his way towards us. He is Lancelot running at the castle. And as we're about to activate, we started activating the bridges. We're about ready to teleport out of here. But no, the cesium skier shows up and just wrecks almost all of these things except for one. Sorry, what was that?
Continue.
Yeah, cesium.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry. I honestly never heard of that. I was like, what?
It's a metallic element.
Hansel? Hansel. Hansel? Hansel?
It's Hansel, damn it.
Hansel? Hansel. Moving on.
So Johnny Storm goes out to stop the beryllium biker from taking out the last of these particular things, and he uses some of her own language against her, and she's like, you learned my language. And he goes, yes, and I know your name. And he drags her into the middle of Times Square where she is bombarded by recordings go, you're about to let Martha die. And this bothers her so much that she runs away. So that deals with part of what we're dealing with. But we have one bridge now, and Galactus is almost here, and no one knows what to do. And Reed goes, well, okay. We fire up this one, and we shove Galactus into it, and we transport him way out of the way, and he won't be in his ship, and he'll be stuck out there, and everything will be fine. But we have to use the kid as bait because it's the only thing that'll get him to come out of his ship. Never mind that we already know he can just transport someone from the ground to his ship. He won't, in this case, for plot reasons. So they put Franklin in a baby thing.
It's just a baby carrier. It's not that big a deal.
It's a very special baby carrier.
It's a radiation-proof baby carrier, okay?
Ugh.
It's designed to make sure that nothing can bother the little tyke while he's in there. So they use that as bait, and Galactus, like a big Dumbo, doesn't use the superpower from his ship to just tractor beam the kid up. He jumps down into Long Island Sound. He gives the Statue of Liberty a death stare because I feel like he looks at it and goes, should I have been paying you child support? And then just walks into New York.
You took that
And
from a
things
meme
go
I shared.
sideways because, of course, they do. And this is where the dodgy CGI really comes into play. Galactus sees through some of their ruse. He gets Franklin. He then gets shoved into the appropriate area by Sue with all of her force field powers. The thing gets turned on. Galactus kind of falls through it. He sort of pulls himself back. Sue falls over about dead from overexertion. Johnny Storm tries to self-sacrifice, but he doesn't get to do that until a Niles shows up, and that's not for another at least movie and a half. So as he starts his final run, the Palladium paraglider sideswipes him, and she knocks Galactus into the hole and goes in with him, and it goes away. But now Sue is dead, and everyone's sad. And then Franklin Richards, destroyer of continuity, creator of pocket universes, and the death knell of the comic industry, and you can actually trace a lot of that back to him, awakens his godlike cosmic power and revives his mother. And I really wish I'd gotten through more of my list. I had more. Sue is brought back to life, and everyone's happy. There's a minor subplot where people are escorted into the lair of the Underminer, the Mole Man, who does not get hit in the groin with a football, much to my personal chagrin, into an underground cavern, subterranea under New York, which is just stupid. The water shelf is 8 feet under New York. You couldn't actually build that here. Anyway.
It's not the same New York. Move along.
It's close enough. But now everyone loves the Fantastic Four again, and they help rebuild New York because part of it got crushed. But there were no casualties because, God forbid. And they now resume being superheroes, but with a baby in tow because responsible parenting. And that's it. That's the Fantastic Four. Then in our mid-credit scene, Sue Storm is reading a bedtime story to Franklin, walks out of the room, walks back in, and there's a green-cloaked fellow holding a metallic mask, and someone in the back whispers, Jared Leto. We don't actually see who's under the hood. But it's supposed to be Doom.
All right, Alexis. Do a plot synopsis. Your draft review. Everyone do a plot synopsis. That's all we're doing tonight.
Okay, so again, this is the 5th time we have tried to do a Fantastic Four story. Thankfully, Marvel figured out after doing their Spider-Man movies, like, you know what? We don't have to do the origin every single time and take up like an hour of the film. Thank God for that. So the flashbacks were very useful. I actually did like the use of the the Ted Gilbert show, using the clips to kind of build up the story and everything. I thought that worked. I know everyone has complained about Pedro Pascal fatigue, but I thought he was great as Reed Richards. I don't need Reed Richards to shave his damn mustache. I don't care. I enjoyed it. I think he's a good enough actor that I can actually see a difference in his portrayals. I was like, that's not Joel from The Last of Us. That's not Din Djarin from Mandalorian. No, this is a different character, and he plays him. Vanessa Kirby, really good. Ebon Moss, God, I can never pronounce this dude. So Ebon Moss-Bachrach, whatever. Richie from The Bear was great as a thing. You know, when I found out he was cast, I was like, yes, hell yes, because I love him on that show, and I thought he did a great job. Joseph Quinn, who has been making leaps and bounds with his career since showing up in the last season of Stranger Things, loved him as Johnny. I am not one of the people freaking out about it's like, oh, it's a female Silver Surfer. It's like, no, I don't care. First of all, it's not a gender swap nor in Rad. It's a different character. She is in the comics. So, you know, it's like, please just
because drawing a one-off character from one issue in an Elseworld is totally valid.
Will you shut up, douchey McNitpick? I was fine with it. Ralph Ineson as Galactus, I adored. When I found out he was cast, I had just seen The Green Knight, which he's the titular character, and oh my God, I watched it, I'm like, yes, no notes, perfect casting. That deep voice of his was so perfect. It's like, yeah, that's the dude who was born to play Galactus. I will admit, I was kind of hoping to see him like a little bigger, because like we got that scene with in the Eternals with the Celestial zooming in to Earth, and it's just unfathomably big. And I was kind of hoping for something a little similar with Galactus, because it is comic accurate. He can change his shape if needed. So I was kind of hoping for that.
Him only being Godzilla sized was a little bit of a letdown.
Like I said, I was hoping to see him get really big, be really big, and then realize he's got to shrink down to get Franklin. It's literally like he's too big to reach in and get him. He's got to go down and get him. So then he shrink. That's what I was hoping for, but that's a minor nitpick. There are a couple of moments with the CGI. It does get a little dodgy, specifically around when they're using the baby, because it's abundantly clear Hollywood's laws about handling children has really made some ground, and it's obviously clear that's like, well, we want you to have a scene of them holding the baby, but we can't actually hold the baby in that, so it's a CGI baby, but it's much better than the Twilight baby, so at least it's getting better. I loved the setting for this, the future or the retro-futuristic style. We've talked a million times before.
That's my Galactus. Notice the scale. I think any bigger than he was, and you lose the plot of what Galactus is supposed to be. Galactus is not supposed to be the size of the fucking Celestial. Galactus is supposed to be that size. Yes, I'm sure there's been different iterations of him in different sizes, but they were going for they were going for early Fantastic Four here. Like first 100 issues of so of the comic book from the 60s, I believe it was. And this is where that Galactus is, and this is what it looked like. Okay?
Okay.
Go on.
Like I was saying, we've talked before a lot of times about the setting in these movies and how the design, the production design, the setting, it needs to become a character in and of itself. And I loved that here. I love the amount of detail that the production design put into the background, into just little details like their apartment. You have the Jean Miro style mobile above the table, just the way that even just the way the chairs and the plates are designed has a real feel to it. This I know it's a long shot, but I really want to see this movie get nominated for an Oscar for production design, because a lot of work clearly went into that. The costumes look phenomenal. I love the 1960s design. It really does look like it.
100% agree with that. That I said I hope this gets at least nominated for production design and costume, because it deserves it absolutely, and to a certain degree cinematography. I think all three of those, that's where this really shines.
Absolutely. Again, this is a story that has been really hard to do, because people tend to forget that the Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family. They are superheroes, but they're a family first. So we've had directors focusing too much on the superhero and too much on the family. That's where you get the difference between the Josh Trank and the Tim Story versions. I feel that this movie figured out how to balance that, how to really, it's like, yes, they're superheroes, but they are a family. And I love that. I love the chemistry between the actors. I loved Herbie. I love that with the robot, you get both CGI and an animatronic and some puppetry work to help kind of make it look a little bit more realistic, so your eye doesn't get too used to it. So, I mean, hell, Herbie had a lot of personality in him, and that was awesome. So, I said it on the chat that this is probably I don't think it's as good as Superman, but Superman, it just blew me out of the water with how good it is. I know you're like grimacing in the void there, Robert, but I absolutely love this movie. I walked down, I was like, there was a few moments where it's like, didn't get exactly what I want, but I can live with it. And yeah, there's a few moments of sketchy CGI, but it's not terrible. It's not something that I walk away going, oh my God, I can't believe it's not X-Men Origins Wolverine. What the hell were you thinking with the claws moment? Which will always be to me the moment of, yeah, that's unforgivable CGI. So I really liked it.
So did I. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. I like this better than Superman. The Fantastic Four is this really interesting blend of fantasy and science fiction, science fantasy. It kind of goes both ways. The actual science in Fantastic Four is sketchy. That's why I say it kind of goes both ways. But it kind of did the early runs of the Fantastic Four especially leaned on that nerdly appreciation for science, even if it wasn't totally like real science. And that's a lot of what the Fantastic Four was. And then you mixed in the superhero stuff, and then you mixed in the family dynamic, and you truly had a very unique product. Fantastic Four is one of my favorite comic books from when I was a kid. It's one of my dad's favorite comic books, and it's a bond that we share together. So I take the Fantastic Four, oddly enough, pretty seriously. It means that much to me. And so I've waited a long time to get a Fantastic Four movie, kind of like what I said about the Batman. I'm finally got the Fantastic Four movie I've been waiting for my entire life. Is it perfect? No. Are there things wrong with it? Yes. I did a whole TikTok on the good, the bad, and the ugly. Really quick, the bad on this. The story is really like paper thin, but they hung a lot on it, so you can kind of get away with the story not being as fleshed out and as thick and meaty as it could have been. I think this thing was butchered in editing.
Clearly.
It was also butchered by a lot of having to reverse a lot of decisions that were made pre-November 2024 election, and also pre the great collapse of the movie industry. So, in the time that this thing is going through pre-production and then principal photography, the world changes two and three times. It absolutely affected the movie. There should have been a lot more of the Silver Surfer. I don't give a fuck what gender she is, and I really wish people would get over it. Having said that, the character...
Come on, Mark. We got more than enough of the Polonium Power Walker in this one.
Stop it. I love you.
You do know he needs to send you a list, and you need to read this off for a TikTok.
Not
right?
a reason to have interrupted me. So what I wanted to say about the Silver Surfer is... Let's go back from the sacrifices she makes, because a lot of people are comparing it to Rose Tico. It's not a Rose Tico moment. That was unearned. That was stupid. There was no good argument for Rose ramming into Darwin Shakespeare,
Finn.
whatever the fuck his name was, Finn.
That was unbearably stupid. This is a
Right.
manifestation of her personal guilt.
Yes, thank you. You got there well before I would have. Yeah, right. Johnny shamed her, and she was overwhelmed by everything that she's done. She's caused the genocide.
Why did you say that name?
She's caused not a reason to have interrupted me. There's a she's got genocide on her hands, and lots of it. And then there's also the little bit that they showed of it, not enough, but they showed of her basically abandoning her child. She was making a sacrifice for the said child, but she's no longer with this child. That means something. I will get to more of that in a second. And so by the time Johnny's just like doing the thing with the speakers, and she's having to face the guilt of what she's done, that she's clearly convinced herself, and I'm doing this entirely through inference, she's clearly convinced herself this is for the greater good, and then when she's confronted with it, she fucking snaps and fucks off for a while, and then at the most opportune time to make a sacrifice and try to repent for the enormous amount of guilt and sin that she's created, she knocks Galactus. I like how the resolution of this movie was what you do to when how you bully kids, where one kid kneels behind you and the other kid pushes you, and you're like, oh, and you fall the ass over tea kettle. So they bully Galactus into a glass.
It's about the most pro wrestling spot in this entire movie.
Oh, tell me I wasn't the only one who said, and here comes Shala Ball with the steel chair.
So anyway,
The Mercury chair. Mercury.
Ugh. So anyway, that all made sense to me. But the problem is, working back from that moment, you had to have done the kind of inference that I was doing in order to get there. The movie doesn't do it for you. That's not good writing. Galactus. Would have been great to have seen Galactus before he was Galactus, so that you understand that what he's dealing with is to give it a kind of a real world anchor, chronic opiate addiction. This guy is all I do. This guy is on the streets of Baltimore going every day, ain't nothing harder than working harder than a dope fiend. This guy just goes through space, and all he wants to do is eat. It's all he can do. This consumes his life, and he's like, I hate this. This is the worst. And so him wanting to give it to Franklin is I've been carrying the burden for too long. I need to go. Someone else needs to take this. And I really don't give a fuck about anything else. And that's Galactus. The movie doesn't give you enough of that. It's really thin. You have to do a lot of inference to get there. That's not good writing. And for people who be like, oh, you don't really need all of that. Well, you do if you want a fully fleshed out fucking character and you want a fully fleshed out storyline. This movie's missing an hour of footage. Hang on. Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's funny about Galactus trying to pass on the torch is that what Galactus is a passed torch onto another guy. When a universe ends, whoever is last standing ends up becoming Galactus. So it's kind of weird that he would do that, because unless he just didn't know, because that is a possibility, that he would try to pass on a torch, because that's going to happen anyways in a few billion years.
Thanks, nerd. Anyway, everyone's just like, he's so mean to Alexis. I'm mean to fucking everybody, including my own kid. So anyway, yeah, so that's not great. And that's one of the big problems I have with the movie, but enough that I didn't make me like the movie? No. I was on the edge of my seat. Like, we don't send pregnant women into space, but if you just turn your brain off and forget we don't send pregnant women into space, and then you have a pregnant woman in space because she has to be part of the Fantastic Four. It's not the Fantastic Three. We left the girl at home. So she's there and they're dealing with it. It's part of the movie. I'm just going with it. Having lived through 2 pregnancies, not my own, obviously, the mother of my kids, but I was there and I went through that with her as much as any man can go through a pregnancy with a woman. That sucked. That was awful. I have not been uncomfortable on the edge of my seat, excited and terrified all at the same time. Movies are supposed to make you feel things. I felt all the things at once. It was unbearable, and I loved every minute of it. I was like, oh God, like, logically they're not going to fucking kill, they're going to die in childbirth on the ship, and this isn't the kind of movie like, Prometheus, where they're going to do a gross pregnancy scene. They're going to handle it with a touch of class. I get that. But I was in a moment, and I'm going to have that moment, and I'm going to talk about that moment. That moment made me enjoy the movie even more. It's a very personal, subjective thing for me. People may think about that differently. That's my reaction to it. Outside of that, I want to talk a little bit. I talked a little bit about this on my TikTok. I'm going to expound upon it. I get why, like, guys like Andre from Midnight's Edge are calling Reed the smartest dumb man, or the smartest idiot, in the history of movies. Reed Richards from the comics doesn't really work in modern society. He's too much of a Vulcan. Not literally. Please don't correct me. I understand he's an actual human, but he is cold. He is logical. He is emotionless. He very rarely loses his shit, and he makes if you look at, like, Reed the Illuminati guy, there's just an actual thing in comics for those that don't know. Like, when you think about things that Reed has done, like the decision to kick the Hulk off the planet and send him into space, the kinds of things historically Reed has done throughout the comic books, it's all very math-based and not a lot of emotion, and it makes him kind of a villain. That's what made Reed interesting. If it wasn't for the fact he was defeating bank robbers and silly villains, he'd almost be a bad guy, and that's kind of his mentality, which doesn't really work. They kind of hinted at it here from about 1,000 yards, but they can't fully commit to it because that kind of character is not going to work in this kind of film, and it's not going to work for the audience they're going for. So they gave him a sensitivity and a vulnerability that I think works for this audience. I think worked in this film. I think worked opposite Vanessa Kirby. It's not as close to Reed Richards, the character in the comic books, as one might like, but I was okay with it. And I was okay with it because I could make those justifications in my head. I like that this Reed is struggling with self-doubt. I kind of hated the joke in the trailer about you're gonna be in over your depths, being a parent and all of that Johnny makes. And then in context of the movie and him just like, everything has an answer. Every nail a hammer, every hole a peg, and he's coming across things that don't have simple solutions. It's the least worst option. And because they gave this Reed a heart, he's really struggling with it, and I like that. I like that characters have it may have been hard, and I know, like, that scene where he's confronting the press was like, that's not really what Reed would do, and this is not what a smart person would do. Okay, who gives a fuck? This guy in that moment, in that character, struggled and didn't know what to do. There were no good answers, and I like that. I like that the movie took at least these movies are so meant for children. I like that the writers of this really thought about the idea of, like, what do you do in that situation? And because they don't know, he doesn't know, because you only write your character's only as smart as you are. Everything about Sue made sense to me. They toned down her girl bossness, which was good. But I think she's
Yeah, there's clearly a version of this where she's much more insufferable.
yeah, no, she's much more toned down in this version, and I think she's a part of the team, not overwhelming the team, which is good. So I enjoyed her character, but I think that the thing I liked about her the most was the mom rage, which again may not be something everybody really identifies with, but again, parent.
You're gonna make me debunk that in a minute or two, aren't you? Good.
You can do what you want. I am entitled to my opinion too.
You are.
I do want to ask you guys a quick question. You guys reviewed
Is
Napoleon.
it anything about what I just said?
Well, it's about Vanessa Kirby. You guys
Sure.
reviewed Napoleon, right?
Yep.
How was she in comparison to this? Because
I got an even better one for you. She's great in The Crown.
That's been the joke for like 5 years.
So anyway, she taps a lot. Her character, kind of like what I was saying about Pedro Pascal, where they gave her something else to be other than superhero chick, or they didn't make her the dainty flower that she is in the first couple of years of the Fantastic Four comics. They made her kind of mid to late era Sue, which I'm fine with because this is 4 years into their run and she evolved quickly. Who gives a fuck? But she's more tapping into mom rage in this movie, and Mama Bear Protector than anything else, and that's a large part of her character, and I'm okay with that. I thought that was a nice addition to it. I'm going to take a break from doing the character stuff to talk about this. I can see why people don't like this movie. There's not enough action in it. This is a long, drawn-out kind of moral dilemma mixed with a bit of pseudoscience, and then there's two action scenes in the whole movie. There's when they confront Galactus, and then when when Galactus confronts them for the rematch. That's it. That's your action sequences. I mean, there's blips here and there, but for the most part, this is.
Oh, come on, the highlight was clearly Reed drop kicking an orangutan off of a Ferris wheel.
I'm not counting the fucking opening montage, psycho. There are 2 action set pieces, and I'm making a point with that because I think people are going to struggle with this. Like, you go to a Marvel movie because every 15 minutes somebody has to throw a hammer and a shield and a laser at a guy in a goofy costume. 2 large things have to fight each other and punch for 20 minutes. This is what we've come to expect. Anytime they go away from that formula of every 15 minutes a stupid fight, people struggle with it. By God, I'll give credit where credit's due. They were courageous here in going against their own type, probably to sacrifice the enjoyment of some of the normies out there. I think people are going to struggle with this movie because there's not enough action in it. Maybe there was more in an original cut of this movie, but it didn't make it into the final cut. So that's all I can talk about. But you have to be invested in the moral and kind of end of the world scenario. And if you're not, this movie does not have an impact on you if you can't buy into either Reed's struggles or Sue's struggle. So if you're like, I just came to see the toys, smash into each other, you're not going to be satisfied with this movie. You're probably going to like Superman a lot. That said, it's kind of going back. Another character that gets short shrift is the Thing. The most popular character in the most popular character in the Fantastic Four, and he really got relegated to the gay best friend. That's like the type that they give. I know he's not really gay, but like the Thing is such a beautiful and rich character. Like he's kind of another iteration of the monster inside me that is the Hulk. The Jekyll and Hyde kind of a thing. The Thing's struggle with is I look like this monster on the outside, but I am this deep, soulful character on the inside, but only ever sees is orange rock. That's the Thing. He gets reduced to it's clobbering time, but there's so much more to him, and he wishes people would see it, which is why for years in the comic book he had a blind girlfriend. She loved him because she could see with no eye. She could see the person inside. I wish we could all say that. So the Thing is a beautiful character. You get none of that in this movie. I thought they were going that way with Natasha Lyonne, and maybe they do in a longer cut of this movie, but they kind of hint at it from where Galactus was in space, and that's it. That's all they give you. And you're like, oh, the Thing should have had a girlfriend. There should have been a love story.
So I do also give credit to having the thing go into the Jewish temple. It's not really, one of the most important things, but the thing is Jewish, and have made a point, especially since Jack Kirby was also Jewish, of having him out as representation.
I hear you, and I don't really want to argue with you about it, but that's substituted for everything I just said. They were like, we can't do any of the things that make the thing, so let's...
Near the end, he'll walk into a synagogue. Monster and Natasha Lyonne walk into a synagogue to see a rabbi. It sounds like the start to a bad joke.
So you know how Superman kills the Jewish leader in that movie? We're going to do the opposite, okay? DC, pro-Palestine. Marvel, pro-Israel. That's where we are right now. So, you brought it up, man, not me. So anyway...
Sorry, just like to give shout-outs for good representation in movies like this, okay?
So anyway, the thing... is kind of relegated to like the gay best friend of Reed. They have a wonderful moment together. That was right out of the comic books when he, when the thing is talking to Reed and Reed's just overwhelmed with self-doubt and everything else. And, and the thing's just like, you're not the smartest guy in the world. And, they're kind of chiding each other the way brothers do. And it's beautiful. It's really great acting in a movie like this. But that's all the thing gets to do. They do some very surface level. Look, the thing is picking up a car. Look, the thing said it's clobbering time. Look, the thing finally punched something. God, even in the montage of things they get to do, everyone kind of has a fun hero moment. Like Reed's kicking orangutans and shit, and the thing gets to pull a boat. That's it. He got to pull a boat. We don't get to see him say it's clobbering time and let him punch something really hard. Like it was like everyone just was ashamed. Like if they could have replaced God, if there was another world where they could have replaced the thing with She-Hulk, they would have.
There is a version of the Fantastic Four with that lineup.
Yeah,
Spider-Man comes into it.
You're telling that to the people, right? Not the guy who's been for the 20 minutes telling you how much he loved the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
So the Fantastic
Just
Four.
Want to make sure.
It's like, as much as we love these characters, the Fantastic Four has kind of been a revolving door of
at
members.
One point, Storm and Black
years.
Panther were in it, and at one point, Medusa from the fucking Eternals. That would have been a great one too.
No, shame on you.
So anyway, we kind of wrap this up so Robert can have his time. It was like they were shamed that the thing had to be in it, and they were like, well, if we make him look like the actual thing from the comic books, and we throw him in a Jewish temple, good enough. Yes, say it's clobbering time. Then the SEALs will be happy and they'll clap. And again, unless you're a huge Fantastic Four fan like I am, like it's or someone who thinks about movies, it's really thin. I was afraid of what they were going to do with Johnny, and they were going to make him too much like Chris Evans. But I like this version of Johnny. He's not stupid. He figures stuff out on his own. He has his own hero moments. They all do, to one degree or another. That's really it. I get why there are actual problems with this movie. I get why, from a fan and an audience point of view, people are going to struggle with it. But I think overall, it's a more of a hit than a miss. I think it's a win for Marvel. This line about it's the best thing Marvel's done in a while, yes, but the last 5 years have been hot garbage.
Allow me to also damn it with faint praise. It's the best superhero movie this year, but let's clearing two midgets and a guy with a broken leg.
Tallest midget. So go ahead, Robert. What your thoughts? I think I've expressed myself enough, and differently enough from my TikTok that when I have to pull audio for this later, I will have the AI will not make the exact same TikTok again.
I don't have a whole lot here. Look, I was gonna, if we had another panelist here, I would have just been reading for this part. I don't like raining on other people's parades, contrary to popular belief. I don't. It's tiring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna echo a handful of the positive sentiments. I agree the production design is at least consistent. So thumbs up there. The chemistry between the actors, some of it worked more than others for me. You're right. Ben and Reed absolutely worked. Ben and Johnny mostly worked. Sue and Johnny felt off to me. I don't know why, but they didn't read as siblings. Sue and Reed, I think the writing failed that relationship here. I think it's pretty clear they wanted a bit more drama between them, and in the course of reshoots and editing, they removed it.
Yeah. Well, I think they probably wrote the tension between them as favoring Sue, and then they couldn't favor Sue as much, lest you use the young boys.
Yeah, at a bare minimum, yes. Look, I'm not a big fan of Pedro Pascal in general. I don't think he's bad in this. But he's also pretty uneven. And I don't know how much of that is him and how much of that is, again, editing and direction and all the other things that go into this. I mean, his accent wanders. By his own admission, Pedro Pascal said, like, yeah, I developed a pretty decent mid-Atlantic accent for this role. And then I got on set and they said, no, we don't do interesting things here.
Yeah, seriously, they said they just wanted him to sound like him. They were like, no, scrap the accent. He's like, Reed Richards isn't from Chile.
Be hired a Latino. Be Latino. Here, put the sombrero on. Oh, boy.
So, point being, like, his voice wanders a lot, and that's a little bit odd to me. Reed should have been... how do I phrase this? Part of the strife between him and Sue should have been that there's a longer period of time when Reed is more seriously considering Galactus's offer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the whole bit when he says, I understand why the people are saying we should do this. And Sue looks at him horrified. Like,
yeah,
that means you've thought about it. And I want to go, well, one, he's just trying. I wanted him to look at her and go, you tell me I'm supposed to relate to people more. This is me trying to relate to people. What do you want from me? Second.
A small detail would have been that I think would have worked had they not been trying to have a kid. And she just says, I'm pregnant. And he's like, not upset about it, but he's not overjoyed. And he's just like, he's just read about the whole thing. It's like, oh, this child is a wonderful thing to bring in this world. So later on, when Galactus is like, I'm murdering everyone on your planet or you're giving me the baby, those are your options. And Reed's like, mathematically, your offer is sound. And Stu has to like slap him around a bit.
Well, I would have, the other thing that I think kind of needed to happen there was she goes, you've considered this. And he goes, yeah, I consider everything. It's kind of my deal.
They kind of have that conversation, but not exactly. So I get what your point is.
It's a bad version of that conversation.
Yeah, it's
kind of my big gripe with it.
It's very general, and they ran away from the specific.
So this movie does a lot of that. It runs away from stuff that could be interesting if you actually dig into it in favor of keeping things bland and
welcome to Marvel in 2025.
Palatable to the lowest common denominator. I think you're right that the lack of action is a problem for this movie, and I'm fairly confident that somewhere in the writing and the editing and the assembling of this, the thought was, well, the drama and the conflict will carry us through the third act. Right? First act, we introduce. Second act, we get to Galactus, and weird stuff happens. And then the third act is all the preparation for the finale. There's an action set piece to punctuate the second act. And there was a thought that, well, the drama between Sue and Reed, and we'll show the world falling apart, and there'll be all this great stuff because now the heroes that all the world has come to depend on and rely on, like their characters in a video game, are starting to have to fall apart and think about things. And this we will create tension and drama and conflict throughout this that will carry us momentum-wise and narratively through until we actually get to the next action set piece. That's not the world's worst idea in theory, but either through incompetent writing or butchery in the editing process, you lost all of it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing carrying you through. There's no impending dread. You get lip service to the world's falling apart, and then again, Sue fixes it with a West Wing speech. And that's not a compliment. and there's just so much that just like this. A lot of this movie suffers from the and then writing problem. If this is a thing that you can do when you're structuring out a story, you have all your story beats, and there's a thing that happens between the story beats. If the best thing to describe what happens between the story beats is the words "and then," you have a bad story. You need something like, what is it the South Park guys say?
Therefore.
It's therefore or but. This thing happens, but complication. This thing happens, therefore complication. If all you get is yes and, or it's the worst version of improv. So and then ... and then ... It's not interesting. It's not engaging. You're just watching somebody put together a puzzle. And there's a lot of that in this movie. Not the totality of it, but a lot of that. They very clearly changed the ending. Again, not just the third act is very much re-edited. You can tell when the CGI gets dodgy when they've re-edited something or reshot it late in the process. So like all of Reed's stretching stuff in that third bit with Galactus looks worse than all the other time he stretches because this stuff was shot last second. So it's not as rendered or as integrated properly. There's a bunch of times he's very clearly on the volume, whereas other times he's clearly not. And it's a result of slapdash reshoots. Again, the very clear change to the ending. I actually would have preferred the narrative ending where they lose and Galactus consumes the universe and they jump through a portal into another one. But,
it made more fucking sense. That's one thing I said to Jonas. He was like, what'd you think of the stinger at the end? I'm like, it sucked. I was like, well, but why? Actually, this person just fucking read my mind. Yeah, let me put this on screen. How are we supposed to be hyped for Doomsday when all we've gotten is a mid-credit scene? There's been zero build-up to make a threat, don't you think? Yes, I was actually about to say that, camp.mellow.media. My big problem with that ending is there's no connective tissue to Doomsday. The obvious ending to this is they end up in the 616 or the 813 or the 410. Like, whatever the fuck the name of this universe is.
Here's the 411.
Yeah. So
I would have liked if we at least got something when they're talking about the Future Foundation and all the countries uniting. Mm-hmm. We do see shots in the I'm guessing it's like the UN, where we see the Latveria chair is empty, and I did giggle. I was like, of course they did. But how great would it have been if there was one like united all countries except Latveria, which still. Or just something like that.
Have the Latverian ambassador object on behalf of the glorious leader.
What should have happened is instead of killing Sue, and that's how we learn about Franklin's powers, what should have happened is they lose. Do the exact same ending. The Silver Surfer knocks out all of the portals, and Galactus starts to consume the planet, and Franklin and then they're just kind of huddled together as the world starts to go. As to fall apart, and as just as they're about to die, Franklin kind of blinks, and then they wake up, and they're in New York City in front of Avengers Tower or some shit.
That actually does bring up an interesting question, because these are parallel dimensions, but this takes place in 1960s. They clarify it's even though it is retro-futuristic, it still takes place in the 60s. So are we saying that there's also a time jump between the 1960s and Avengers' current timeline? Or are we saying that there's going to be a 40-year gap between what we just saw and when they show up on the Thunderbolts radar?
This isn't the I see why you're connecting those two, so I won't make a snarky remark. But yeah, I don't know. That's my point.
Neither does anyone who wrote this.
When they built the connective tissue going from Captain America, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and into the Avengers, it all had a clear. There was all clear, very solid arrows pointing to the Avengers. When we got to Infinity War, there were. By a multiple.
We had we had a dozen movies teasing Thanos and showing him in the background doing stuff.
Right. So by the time we got to Infinity War, we were ready for this, and then Endgame was the conclusion of all that. And again, Endgame drew upon fucking 9 years worth of movies by that point. Going into Doomsday, I have no idea how Fantastic Four gets there. I don't know what Doctor Doom is doing. I don't know which Doctor Doom that is. If you're going again, just drop the Fantastic Four in the middle of the present day Marvel universe and go from there. Or the other idea would have been, I would have laughed at this and it would have solved some problems, but it would have been an utterly unsatisfying ending for a lot of people. It would have been a really what the fuck moment. But, they've got Galactus exactly where they want him. Everything is working out just fine. They've got Franklin there as bait, and Dr. Doom fucking unzips, shows up, steals the baby, and fucks off. It would have been great. Like, oh God, some unknown man in a metal mask has stolen our baby. Whatever will we do? And
It does-
and then just end the movie. Like, we don't know how they got out of it. That'd be great, right, Rob?
So clarification, Doomsday is the next Marvel movie, or is there anything else that's on the docket?
That's hang on. That's a little up in the air. It was because Doomsday was supposed to come out end of this year.
All right, I don't, just go on with your plot, with your craft review. I'll look it up really quick.
Well, Doomsday was supposed to come out end of this year, then a Spider-Man movie between them, and then the Doomsday Part 2 the year after that.
Well, I'm just asking because, yes, I agree. We need a lot more time to set up Latveria and
All
Dr.
right, it
Doom.
comes next. Why didn't we want to have this conversation? You guys fucking fight me on everything. Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out July 31st, 2026. Doomsday, December 18th, 2026. And then Secret Wars, and these are the only 4 movies currently in Phase 6, though they've teased some others, is December 17th of 2027. Robert, third time. Can you finish?
I'm pretty much done. I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie. I didn't especially enjoy it, but I don't think it, like Superman, I don't think it engenders enough of an emotional response for me to actually hate it. That takes effort. This is fine. I get why people like it. I get why people don't. I fall more in the don't camp.
Did you like this one better or worse than Superman?
I don't know. I'd have to remember how I felt about Superman.
Did you like this better or worse than Thunderbolts?
Yeah, it's a better made movie in general, so sure.
Did you like this better or worse than Brand New Day? Or, sorry, Brave New World?
Brave New World.
Yeah, I mean, God, that movie was so dumb. Yeah, this is better than that.
Did you like this better or worse than The Brutalist?
I mean, like is a strong word, but I respect The Brutalist as a feat of artistic achievement.
Did you like this better or worse than Amelia Perez?
Oh, dear God.
Mark, need you to understand something.
Yes.
I've had bowel obstructions I like more than Amelia Perez.
Did you like this better or worse than The Electric State?
Oh, shit. You actually made him think on that one.
Hang on. I'm trying to reprocess everything from The Electric State. I only have fragmented memories of that disjointed monstrosity.
Did you like this better or worse than Snow White?
Let him finish one answer and stop stealing my bit.
Probably more than The Electric State. If nothing else, this was shorter than that.
All right, now do Alexis this thing because she has to be part of it. Did you like this better or worse than Snow White?
It's mud. If I liked it more, probably because I hated Snow White. So yeah.
Did you like this better or worse than the new Toxic Avenger movie?
I haven't seen the new Toxic Avenger movie. Ergo, I cannot form a cohesive thought comparison.
Did you like this better or worse than dental work you had the week we reviewed Mortal Kombat?
Would I rather go get that root canal redone and watch this movie again? Okay, let me caveat the following.
It's the best part of the review.
If the root canal had been done and finished the first time, I would take that again. That really wasn't that bad once it, all things considered. The fact that I had to do it twice and then wait another bit before they could actually affix the permanent crown again. I had that tooth crowned. It wasn't sealed properly. They cut it off. They put the new one on, but when they resurfaced what was left of that tooth, it got too close to the nerve, so then I had to have it root canaled. That took 2 sittings because I wouldn't stop bleeding because I'm everyone's worst story in the medical profession.
Did you
So
like
I
it?
had the root canal was done twice. Then I still had to wait another week and a half for everything to heal enough for them to reaffix the second permanent crown. That one actually did stick. That one's still there. So that was a long, arduous, like 4 months while that was going on. And honestly, had the root canal just been one and done, yeah, I'd probably take that.
Did you
But
like the,
given what I actually went through, no, I'll take this.
Did you like this better or worse than our discussion of season 2 of Lock and Key?
Our discussion of it or the actual show?
Ooh, yes.
Okay. I would rather have our discussion about that again than watch the movie, but I would much rather watch this than rewatch that festering pile of excrement.
Really hoping you're in a better mood by next week when we talk about Together.
Did you like it better or more than oh gosh, I had it and I lost it. Tomorrowland.
Oh, Tomorrowland actually bothered me.
Yeah, I know. I'm going through all of our hits now.
Yeah.
You guys do that. I'm just going to.
Probably this over Tomorrowland.
Ooh, okay.
Stupid
Oh,
Hugh Laurie.
I know which one I was going to ask you. Did you like this better or worse than Too Old to Die Young?
By definition of the fact that Too Old to Die Young was about the length of a Scorsese flick these days, which is more an indictment on Scorsese making 12-hour movies. Yeah, I'd watch this instead of Too Old to Die Young again, sure.
Okay. Speaking of Scorsese, did you like this more or less than The Irishman?
Yeah. Again, it kind of wins by virtue of being shorter more than anything else.
I can't think of something. Oh, I remember the last one I'm going to ask you. This is a good one. Did you like this more or less than the remake of Cheaper by the Dozen?
Oh. Thank you for reminding me that exists.
You're welcome. That's why I'm here.
I definitely take this over that.
Okay. Now we know where this movie stands in the great pantheon of things Robert has disliked. And with that said,
Squarely
here
in the
comes
middle.
the money. Here comes that's this movie, squarely in the middle. Fantastic Four, squarely in the middle.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
Alrighty. Get myself set up here. All right. On a budget of 200 million Marvel monies.
At least. Probably 220.
Any possible chance I'm going to get through the rest of the show just doing my thing. $200 million Marvel monies. This thing at the sound of the gong will have made $216.7 million. As of July 27th, which was yesterday, the Fantastic Four First Steps has grossed $117.6 million in the U.S. and Canada, and $99.1 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $216.7 million. On July 22nd, 2025, the film was projected to make $100 to $110 million at the domestic box office, with an additional $90 to $110 million overseas for a total of $190 to $210 during its opening weekend. The film made $24.4 million in Thursday night previews, the biggest box office of 2025, surpassing that of Superman, which had been released 2 weeks earlier. It collected $57 million on its first day, ranking below a Minecraft movie as the second highest opening day of 2025. The film would end up debuting $117.6 million at the domestic box office, topping the box office ahead of expectations, and a total of $216.7 million globally. Alrighty. It was the number one movie of the weekend. It beat Superman, knocked Superman from 1 to 2 in Superman's third week. Jurassic World 2 to 3. F1 the movie jumped up a spot 5 to 4, replacing the Smurfs, which dropped down to 4 to 5. I Know What You Did Last Summer dropped from 3 to 6. How to Train Your Dragon 6 to 7, 7 weeks out from its debut. Eddington, which my parents saw in its second week, dropped from 7 to 8. Oh, hi, Robert. Debuted at number 9. The Home from Lionsgate, formerly a studio, debuted at number 10. Sayada, 15. House on Eden, 17. Shoshana, 24. D. Chivon 26. AJ Goes to the Dog Park 27. What the fucking name of these movies? At debut 27, and Monk in Pieces, which is how I
Who are
like it.
you to mock the documentary about the phenomenal one, AJ Styles taking his dog to
I
the
don't know
park?
what I was thinking. Worldwide, Nija currently at still number one. Lilo and Stitch. I think the last time we did this had already crossed over $1 billion. So that's the number 2 movie in the world, and number 1 movie made by America. Minecraft movies at number 3. Jurassic World's currently sitting at number 4 with 719 million. How to Train Your Dragon nestled in at 600 million. Mission Impossible behind it at 591. F1 the movie is quietly flying up the ranks at 509.
Good
Superman sitting at 502. Captain
We're gonna have to
America.
talk about Superman.
Yeah, I'll double back. Captain America is at 415. Thunderbolt is so Captain America and Thunderbolt are not going to last much longer in the top 10, but there they are currently. And Fantastic Four debuted at 13, currently above Snow White's entire run. So you talk about Superman, Robert. I know you're chomping at the bit here.
Okay. Because everybody and their dog has decided that this is a thing that we're just going to fight over. Superman got its release date for streaming. Is kind of the big news coming out recently, and it is in about a month. It is August. Now, this is the relevant parties have clearly looked at the projections and went, okay, we're going to lose money on this. Let's just get it onto streaming so more people will watch it. Which I'm not objecting to. If from a business standpoint, that's kind of what you do at a certain point. But this does, again, this once again means that we have to say they spent $230 some odd million making it. They spent 150, 180 million marketing it. It needs to get to around 800 million to start turning a profit.
So let me interject here. The problem this is going to cause is we're back to 10, 15 years ago, maybe longer, of the movie industry recognize this is the Warcraft problem. The movie industry is now being reminded of how much you need a worldwide box office, a international box office to get your movie to where you need it to be if you're going to greenlight a movie with a large budget.
You're going to say, especially if your budget is the GDP of Portugal.
Yeah. So with these 250 or more $1 million movies, if you don't have worldwide appeal, you don't have a movie that's profitable. That's the calculus. The solution to this for years was make these more appealing to a worldwide audience. Make them, let's look at the things that China doesn't like because that's the biggest market. Let's look at things that Greater Europe doesn't like. Let's look at other parts of the world and see, the Hispanic population and figure out how we can appeal to all of these different markets all at once. They did that. It aggravated mostly the American audience. And the movie theaters thumbed their nose at the American audience and said, we don't need you. This will be fine. And it wasn't fine, and the world changed. So we're back to the age-old problem again of how do we sell these movies to an international audience? How do you sell Superman, which doesn't, by and large, is not popular in the rest of the world, to an audience that we need to support this movie without aggravating the American buyers in a world where the market has shrank considerably because of streaming? And I'm not going to say I have an answer. I'm just telling you what the problem is. I wrote the problem on the blackboard, kids. You figure it out because I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, look, the other part of the solution to that used to be you'd shoot other scenes for different markets.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw Iron Man 3, in China, it looked different than Iron Man 3 in the rest of the world. There was other stuff they would shoot just for those markets. That seems to be a thing they're kind of going away from for whatever reason.
Well, it's got to drive production up, don't you think?
Some, but not as much as you might. No more than, oh crap, get everyone back for another round of reshoots.
We have to reshoot Act 2 and 3 of this movie.
Yep.
It tested poorly. I'll tell you, I almost want to say just make your movie and what happens, but then we have to have cheaper movies. like if I'm Disney, Universal, Sony, Warner Brothers, you gotta cap these movies at maybe 100 million at best. I mean, and that's for the blockbusters. Like the only one who I think can write his own check is James Cameron, and only for the Avatar movies. Until they prove otherwise, those things make $2 billion. Before you fucking finish the title of the movie, as stupid as they are. But nothing else has ever been as successful as Avatar. Not in the history. Nothing's gone with the wind. Not in the history of motion pictures. So, and when you talk about like a single movie and a single movie doing it more than once. So, other than James Cameron and Avatar, if you can't greenlight $200 million movies anymore, you just can't. They're money losers. Like I know our good friends in the chat who will argue, but Superman was good. Great. I'm not arguing. That isn't what this conversation's about. It's like, but Superman made money, not enough to be profitable.
Not yet. But once again, everybody, math on this is real simple. Take the budget. For a big budget like that, you want to add like $10 million to what they disclose because they always underreport. Your marketing budget is going to be 50 to 80% of the production budget, depending on, you can kind of read the tea leaves on that, depending on how much you see of it. They marketed the heck out of Superman, so we're probably talking, again, 120 or so, maybe even as high as like 180 of marketing. So you've now spent almost $400 million on this.
Right.
Then chop your ticket sales in half because exhibitors get a cut. And you have to double your budget to start seeing profitability. Right. You may not like that math. A bunch of studio executives don't like that math, but that's the math. That's the reality of it. And right now, Superman is not on track to hit that number. That's just where we are.
One movie crossed $1 billion that I don't think was budgeted. I think Lilo and Stitch was a wild fucking grand slam swing for Disney. Not in terms of content, not in terms of art, in terms of economics, in terms of profitability. I don't remember what the budget on that was, but it wasn't much, and it was repurposed from Disney Plus. And they
let me check. I'll find the.
And they made $1 billion off of it. Like, huge win for Disney. They're running the show this year. But these other movies,
yeah, the budget for Lilo and Stitch was $100 million, give or take.
Right. See that is unfortunately there's your model. Like I said before, like I'm not really sure what the answer is. Your answer is kind of Lilo and Stitch. It's find something that hasn't been done to death that you can remake. Don't tell anyone you're messing with the ending until it's well past too late, and try to make it look as close to the original as possible, and hope nostalgia carries you through, but also hope that this thing has international appeal, which clearly it did, or it wouldn't have made $1 billion.
Well, the Chinese were really happy to push it because it says surrender your children to the state.
Perfect. I can't tell if you're kidding. But if you think about like the calculus on Lilo and Stitch was essentially make this really familiar movie for a global audience, and don't put any agendas in there. Just keep it pretty straightforward. Put a nice marketing opportunity in there, like Stitch or Baby Yoda or whatever. You probably got a hit on your hands. But the rest of these movies, like we've been talking about this since they announced James Gunn. That's why I fought so much with Alexis about it. James Gunn makes fun and interesting movies. I'm not sure you can bank on him to make something that's guaranteed to make $1 billion. He's fucking weird. Sometimes weird works, and you accidentally get. I said that from the start. My argument was Guardians of the Galaxy was accidentally good and accidentally a hit. That's not the guy. That's not the guy you can count on to deliver you a $1 billion crowd pleaser. And then you attach to it that apparently Superman is not that popular in the rest of the world. It's very much an American thing. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the Fantastic Four does. Marvel doesn't have a lot of what's the word?
Hey, Mark.
Not cachet, but what's the word I'm looking for, Robert? Or fan investment, goodwill. Marvel doesn't have a goodwill right now, so
True.
people are not wazooey about taking, and then this is now the third one in a year of not great Marvel movies. I'll be curious to see how well Fantastic Four does. I haven't really been paying too close attention to the nerds online. The Critical Drinker gave it a pretty good review. Nerd Roddick seems to be bent out of shape about Silver Surfer, and he'll never fucking let it go. I haven't heard Echo Chamberlain and Midnight's Edge.
Echo Chamberlain's issues with it are like narrative and structural, which that's kind of his thing.
Did he do one on this one? I know he did one on Superman.
His full one isn't out, but I think he was on. It might not have been him. It might have been somebody else who was on the
Drinker.
Yeah, the Drinker's Bar.
Okay.
Anyway.
Andre's thing. I feel like Andre has gotten far away from being objective and is now just like, my fans want me to hate stuff, so I hate stuff. and then like you can't really argue with them because half of it's not that great to begin with. So you're like, oh, Andre. Like he was a little more like, for whatever reason, I listened to one of his reviews of this and it seemed to have bothered him more than the other ones did. And I think that's kind of like me, where you have like a personal attachment to this and it's not exactly what you want it to be. Except that I'm more open about those sort of things than he seems to be. But yeah, I don't see Fantastic Four crossing the $1 billion mark. I don't see Superman crossing the $1 billion mark, and this is a problem.
Well, it's a bigger problem for Marvel when you consider Doomsday, because they hired everyone. Hang on, there's a punchline to that.
Mm-hmm.
Most reporting on that is that no one on the cast is making less than $10 million.
Yeah, it's going to be fucking... leading into Endgame, obviously, there were several movies, several storylines. They had just had a big hit the year before with Infinity War. This was the conclusion of a 10-year story. It had everything going in its favor. It's no wonder it made $2 billion. Easy story to tell. Easy story to understand. Doomsday has none of those things. There's not enough movies in between. This Spider-Man, which I have no idea what Spider-Man is anymore. Because when the original thing for it was supposed to occur on Battleworld or some nonsense.
Yeah,
and now that's not the case.
Yeah, the problem they're going to run into is Brand New Day was supposed to be between Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Right.
And now that can't happen. So,
I don't even know why they're calling it Brand New Day anymore. Like, they got to change the title, right? Because if this is supposed to be an alternate universe Spider-Man, blah, blah, yakety schmackety, playing off the actual Brand New Day storyline from the comic books, how do you still do that? You've already done No Way Home when they fucked with the multiverse. You can't do it a second time.
I don't know.
I don't know what it had.
Look, that whole thing was just, we had to redo Spider-Man's origin story. So, that's what we did.
All right. Next week is this weekend is the Naked Gun. Did you guys get this trailer for your Fantastic Four
yeah,
showing?
I think I shared it. The one where like Liam Neeson's like, please save comedy.
Yeah, my kids laughed their ass off, and then they were like, "Are those real movies?" I'm like, "Yes, those were real classic comedies."
So now you have things to show them.
I have. Well, it's funny because Jonah. So the three of us watched the original Naked Gun last night, and then Jonas and I during my lunch hour today watched the second Naked Gun. And Jonas, both of us just guffawing loudly at them. Like, those movies still stand up. Some of the jokes have kind of aged like milk, but like only because if you're like, have sensitive sensibilities, and some of them are very much products of their time.
You have to be like unbearably thin-skinned to get that bent out of shape over the kind of comedy they're doing in that. Like, it's a Naked Gun movie,
right? I'm curious to see, and I'm optimistic about the new Naked Gun, but there's a part of me that's reserving that optimism. Because my heart's been broken one too many times, and now I am cold and distant and angry. So I don't want to hope the Naked Gun's as good as I want it to be, because they're already leaning too much on the shit and fart jokes. And as a guy who's been chastised on this very show for talking way too much about shitting, I'm like, is this all we're gonna do? The Naked Gun is so funny. Like, having just watched the first two within the last day, like there's so much. Jonas and I were having this conversation about like the masters of parody and satire, and and he was like, "Isn't that Mel Brooks?" I'm like, "The other one of the Zucker brothers."
Yeah.
Like the amount of like balance between over the top and subtle humor. Like, Leslie Nielsen is a masterclass in like subtle facial reactions to things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. As funny as I think Liam Neeson is, I don't know if they're going to do that. And without that, I'm not sure you have a Naked Gun movie.
I'm still moderate. I am mildly optimistic about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they won't lean. They shouldn't lean too much into the bodily function humor. There's going to be some, because of course there is.
Well, it's all over the goddamn trailer. He's like shitting his pants in at least 2 different scenes.
That's supposed to be a continuation of one scene. The joke is he eats the chili dog, reacts badly, causes a scene so he can use the bathroom, then gets back in the car and resumes eating the chili dog.
I know what my problem is. My problem is that scene triggers me because I've been him one too many times. So many cars I've had to get rid of because I've defiled that front seat.
The things you've just befouled.
Cancer treatment is a terrible thing. It does horrible things to your stomach.
I absolutely believe that. So I imagine they won't lean too heavily into that, but then again, Seth MacFarlane's involved, and
Well, it's hilarious because Liam Neeson really started breaking his comedy chops working with Seth MacFarlane, cameoing on a few episodes of Family Guy, his role in A Million Ways to Die in the West. And I know none of us are crazy huge fans of the movie Ted, but his cameo in the first Ted movie
oh my God.
is one of the funniest
scenes
scenes
the fucking
ever.
Cereal? Yeah.
Yes.
Is the cereal okay for kids?
I won't be followed if I buy this. Nope, we don't have the budget. That is the funniest scene in the whole movie.
I've seen both Ted movies, despite myself, and yeah, they're hit and miss, but his scene is really fucking funny. So will it be the number 1 movie of the weekend, Alexis? What do you think? You may talk now.
I have no idea. I really don't. Sorry. I was just letting you guys kind of go nuts, and I was playing a nonogram. So
I'm aware of what you were doing, but I'm allowing you back in the conversation now. Please participate.
Oh, gee, thank you. No, I really don't know about the new Naked Gun movies. I don't know where it's gonna go. I want it to be number 1 for the weekend, but I am really scared it's gonna fall on the deaf ears of a younger generation who does not appreciate what Leslie Nielsen gave to the world in comedy and the true art of the parody. Because frankly, the last generation before this their idea of parody was completely ruined by the assheads who made Epic Movie, Disaster Movie, and all that crap. And I don't think thank you. And I don't think this newest generation has been given a real introduction to what good parody is and how you're supposed to,
because reality at this point, because reality at this point is too crazy to satirize.
Pretty much.
I want to throw this out there. The new Happy Gilmore comes on Netflix the end of July 25th. And that's getting a lot of promotion right now. People are gearing up for it. People remember Happy Gilmore, millennials and Gen Xers. We remember. The Gen Z don't know nothing about no Happy Gilmore. I don't think they know anything about Adam Sandler. But
look, all they know of Adam Sandler is his Ponzi schemes.
So there's a lot of talk online, a lot of talk on social media about the new Happy Gilmore, which is the crowd you need to come out and go see The Naked Gun. So my question for the panel, who should be paying attention, is if you, the consumer who is not likely to go to the movies unless it's an event or something like that, like Top Gun or whatever, if you know there's a Happy Gilmore coming out on Netflix, do you go to the movies to see The Naked Gun, or do you just say comedy because you're now trained to see big time comedy on Netflix? Do you just wait for it to go on streaming? Your thoughts?
I think this one will ultimately do okay. I think the marketing campaign for The Naked Gun has been exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the best marketing I've seen for a movie in years.
Mm-hmm. That trailer where he changes from the little girl into his full-grown body self, and he's got the miniskirt on and everything. That's an eye catcher. That both my kids are like, "What the fuck is this?"
Well, then you follow it up with the posters that AI was not used in the creation of this poster, as everyone has more fingers than they need on their hands, and there's more hands than are necessary.
Right.
And then this most recent one where he's aping the ASPCA TV spots.
Good shit.
Should add, Entertainment Weekly also did they've apparently started doing it's not like a sneak peek at the cover. It's a video showing a bit of the cover, and it shows him with Pamela Anderson on the motorcycle, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. So again, the marketing campaign for this, you guys are absolutely right, is top notch. I'm just worried that it's literally going to be a case of wait for streaming.
That's
I want it to do well, but
so do I.
I think that's kind of the genius of this last ad push for them, is they're tapping into that. They're like directly pointing at a bunch of the audience that would go, I can wait for it to go, do you want comedies to get made? Because if you want comedies to get made, we need to show some investment into them.
Frankly, I think cinema in general needs to start making an ad campaign like that. We need people to say, it's like, okay, we understand you're lazy and COVID kind of ruined any interest in going outside. But if you want these movies to be made, you need to start going back to the theater.
So the budget on the Wikipedia page is not listed for this Naked Gun.
It's probably not too much.
No, but that's the thing. Like, so it's the opposite problem with like Superman and Fantastic Four, which is these things make great money. They isolated from fact, they make good money. They make $600, $700, $800 million. The problem is they underperform, by basis where they're supposed to be, what's expected. The Naked Gun doesn't need to make $800 million. It may only need to make 200, 300. Yeah. That's probably a lot more. I mean, like, fucking what salary did Liam Neeson and Pam Anderson command for this movie? Like, if this got more than $100 million budget, I'll be surprised.
I would be shocked if it's more than that.
Yeah, like this feels. If this is Paramount, and if you're not insane, 50.
If you don't
maybe?
give Babylon $250 million.
Which one did you like worse, Babylon or Fantastic Four: First Steps?
Once again, by virtue of one of them being shorter.
Which would you have preferred? To have an elephant openly shit on you, a la Babylon, or have to sit through Fantastic Four: First Steps again?
Okay, just the defecation, or do I have to get it up the hill too?
I like how that's a determining factor. All right, are we ready to kill this puppy?
I can take a shower.
It's going on your tombstone, Robert Winfrey, beloved son and brother. He could take a shower. Alrighty. Are we ready to move on? Is what I asked you people.
Yeah, I think so. Again, that's kind of, let me just chime in briefly. I don't think Naked Gun unseats Fantastic Four, but I think Fantastic Four takes a pretty serious tumble.
Somewhere in the 60s?
Around 60, I think.
I was actually looking up to see if Seth MacFarlane put some of his own personal money into this. It wouldn't surprise me if he personally did a lot of the funding for this.
Probably. Much as I don't like the vast majority of what he does these days, his commitment to the entertainment industry is commendable.
So let me say this. My kids have grown up watching Family Guy, shut up. And they are large consumers of the type of humor Seth MacFarlane peddles. And so if this Naked Gun movie is laden with Seth MacFarlane type humor, they're going to think it's hilarious. However, I don't know how many people are bringing their 11, 14, or younger or slightly older children to the Naked Gun, which is a bit of a problem. So, yeah. And then again, if you're like my age and it's not the Naked Gun you remember, how well do you enjoy the movie? Like, I'll probably like it just fine, but I can almost guarantee you I'm going to be here next week going, I miss Leslie Nielsen.
Well, I mean, of course we miss Leslie Nielsen.
Everyone misses Leslie Nielsen.
And don't call me Shirley.
Shirley.
All right. Here we go.
Did that actually go on his tombstone? I feel like it should have if it didn't. Leslie, don't call me Shirley Nielsen.
I haven't shown my kids Airplane yet. You want to know the big reason I haven't shown them Airplane? I showed them the Basketball Diaries, but I haven't showed them Airplane because at least at one point, it's either Airplane or Airplane 2. They do the bit where she's starting to shimmy and it's a close-up shot of some woman's broad tits. But I feel like there's another part of either Airplane or Airplane 2 where everyone's running around the plane, and at one point there's a topless woman like right there on screen. And that I remember.
Okay, there's a chunk in Airplane 2
Mm-hmm.
where one of the gags is the lead actor is painting a vase, like painting some flowers,
Right.
next to a topless woman, but all he's
Right.
painting is the flowers.
See, I say you don't have to worry about it because if your kids grew up watching Family Guy, they already know majority of the references because Family Guy has pretty much parodied every scene from Airplane at least once. You could literally stitch together the whole movie from scenes from Family Guy.
It needs to be said because we're like talking about Seth MacFarlane as if he does all this stuff by himself. He's worked with like the Zucker brothers are credited on Family Guy. The Zucker brothers are who did the Naked Gun movies. Like I don't know how much if they were ever involved with Police Squad, but they're all over the fuck. David Zucker directed the Naked Gun movies, at least 2 of them.
Yeah.
And again, the Zucker brothers are part of the Family Guy crew.
My big fear for the Naked Gun is Akiva Goldsman.
Why?
Straight up. Because he sucks.
You want to flesh that out for me a little bit more, or are you just gonna be like flip about the whole thing?
Okay. If you're gonna make me do this, you're not gonna take my word for this on the fact that I know this gentleman.
I would have loved to have just heard your explanation without the preamble.
So this asshole wrote The Dark Tower, wrote Transformers: The Last Night,
Oof.
wrote the Divergent series,
Oh.
wrote I Am Legend,
Ooh.
wrote the Lost in Space movie, wrote Batman and Robin.
Wait,
Would
you're
you like
talking
me
about
to
the director? So you're talking about the director, right?
Yeah, Akiva Goldsman.
It's Akiva Schaffer.
No. That's a different guy.
No, according to the IMDb or according to Wikipedia.
Oh, did I misread that?
Directed by Akiva Schaffer, who was a member of Lonely Island, worked for Saturday Night Live, helped to create Lazy Sunday. I Just Had Sex. I'm on a boat and dick in a box. Directed Hot Rod, The Watch, he directed the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie that we reviewed, and produced a number of TV shows, including MacGruber, Pen 15, however you pronounce, or if you pronounce it the other way. I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson, and Palm Springs, which I actually thought was a really good TV movie.
Allow me to contain my.
You can't just say I'm sorry I fucked up.
Sorry, got that wrong, misread it. Entirely my fault.
The running time for this is 85 minutes. I suddenly have a lot of hope. This is going to be a breezy one.
Second, this still bothers me because I don't like Akiva Schaffer's sense of humor. So
okay. At this point, you could have made up a name, Alexis, and he would have said, "I don't like that guy either." Let me tell you all the things he's done, and just started listing movies.
No. I misread that. I apologize. I got that part of it wrong 1,000,000%. So I double checked Schaffer, but you directed Hot Rod. I'd rather have my foot run over by a car than watch that movie again.
Would you rather watch Hot Rod or the Fantastic Four First Steps?
I would rather watch this movie twice than watch Hot Rod again.
Sounds great.
You know what?
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I'll make a man out of you. All right. So the tomato meter, it's 87% for all critics. Top critics, it drops in a negligible amount, just drops to 81.
Mhm.
Verified audience is 93. All audiences is 89. It's about right. So, the people enjoyed this. The critics don't have major problems with it. This is exactly what I said it was.
Yep.
The AI writes, benefiting from rock solid cast chemistry and a clad and appealingly retro 1960s design, this crack at the Fantastic Four does Marvel's first family justice. And the audience says, derheap. And it also says, the Fantastic Four, I hate people, have you noticed? The Fantastic Four takes the world by storm.
I have ruined you, and I'm proud of that fact.
You haven't ruined me yet, and you never will.
That's because you are smart enough to not come on this show for long stretches of time.
Yeah, we do ruin you. You just healed like Wolverine. The Fantastic Four takes the world by storm. Dirk, Thing, Reed, Johnny, and Baby, forging a new path for this bespoke family.
I hate that word.
With these first steps,
People misuse it all the time.
Exactly. That's why I hate it.
Leaps into cosmic action with retro-futuristic verve.
Okay, you know what? That poor AI trying to cobble together sentences from whatever brain-damaged jackanapes banged their faces on the keyboard.
Admittedly, yeah.
Speaking of brain-damaged jackanape, Doug Walker of Channel Awesome. Unlike James Gunn's Superman, we haven't seen Fantastic Four's origin done well on the big screen, so starting off in the middle of their story can create a disconnect. I do think there's an audience for this film who won't be bothered by that, though. Great take, Doug.
Again, we don't need another origin story. We made it work with Spider-Man, and we made it work with Fantastic Four.
Kyle Amato, Boston Hassle. What the fuck is a Boston Hassle? Sounds like a drink you order. While Superman's in media res approach excited me and felt lived in, Fantastic Four's world left me mostly apathetic.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing from your blog.
Hang on. He's not wrong that...
Oh, okay. Boston Hassle is one of those indie artists-only newspapers.
Okay, he's not wrong in the sense that the world of Superman actually does feel more important and fleshed out. The world of Fantastic Four feels mile wide, inch deep kind of thing.
This is the best take I've ever seen on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't make me laugh. Just factually correct. This is the best one I've ever read in like 100 years of doing this podcast. Eric Kane of Forbes. Fantastic Four First Steps may be one of the best MCU films we've seen over the past few years, but this says more about the low bar Marvel and Disney have set than it does about the quality of this movie.
It's not wrong.
110%.
Remember when Thor: The Dark World was the worst Marvel movie?
I remember. Petrich Farm remembers. The future ex Mrs. Alexis Hana, Linda Cook of our Quad Cities. Flame on!
Okay, is that Linda Cook's fault or is that Rotten Tomatoes AI's fault?
I blame the author in this instance.
Linda Cook is Alexis's spirit animal.
I don't even know who this person is.
It doesn't matter. In my head, I've concocted a whole thing, and that's what matters.
Instantly, he concocted that.
It came together so fast for me. All right. Yeah. Stephen Ramell of The Australian, top critic. The dialogue is weak, especially at the attempts at humor. Nothing much of interest happens. The superhero movie franchise has its ups and downs. This one is definitely on the downside. I told you people were not going to deal well with a thoughtful movie.
Well,
I want to see more things get blown up.
This movie is only allegedly thoughtful, but you and I, Mark, I think we just appreciate the effort made instead of it just being formulaic, algorithmically produced slop.
Yeah. Nelson Acosta. The Fantastic Four First Steps feels archaic in ways that don't attract nostalgia, with a plot that has already been done and stiff performances from the cast.
Somebody really doesn't like retro-futuristic 1960s style. This guy probably was like punished by watching the Jetsons as a child.
I would assume.
Matt Lynch in review online. First Steps can't help but still largely feel like more of the same, even if this installment tastes a bit better than the last few bowls of slop.
I'm gonna push back on that one a little bit. This movie, if nothing else, actually feels somewhat different than the generic Marvel stuff we've had for the last several years.
Kurt Loder, creator.
But
I still can't believe that man's still alive.
What distinguishes the movie from the usual superhero product is its willingness to tell a kinder, gentler story at a less than usual overcranked pace. Kurt Loder is my spirit animal.
That explains
okay, now go
so
find
much.
Roberts.
I don't have a spirit animal on here reliably.
You know, he just has wives, lots of wives. Speaking
I
of
have
which,
hang on, I have wives and I have my race swap for the recast.
the future ex Mrs. Alexis Hana. So Grace Randolph of Beyond the Trailer.
That is an address that the police understand.
The first extended Galactus Silver Surface sequence is worth the price of admission alone. But while the set design, VFX, and score are excellent, the script is rushed with lots of plot holes. Still the best Fantastic Four movie yet, and a treat for fans. I agree with you, Grace Randolph. You can be our friend.
Okay,
No.
stop calling it the best Fantastic Four movie. We all know all previous versions sucked. Jokes, it's like it's a dead horse.
We're just looking for qualifiers that will get us noticed by executives.
Speaking of dead horses, Dan Morell of Dan Morell Reviews. Easily in the top of the MCU's post-Endgame output, and it's a solid start to this new phase for Marvel. First Steps lays a good foundation to build on as Marvel tries to reinvent itself coming out of the stumbles of the Disney Plus era.
Yeah, this is probably top third of post-Endgame stuff, but again, most of the post-Endgame stuff has been ass.
Yeah, again, it's like low hurdle.
Oh wow, it's better than the Marvels.
Congratulations! It's like you're taller than Tom Cruise. Here's your participation award.
Speaking of which, has anyone ever actually watched Ironheart besides the nerds on YouTube?
I haven't had time yet.
Don't. It sucks.
You think everything sucks, Robert?
I do, but when the entire bit about that is she sucks as a character, sells her soul to Mephisto, and then absorbs the powers of the Hood into her armor by the end of it.
Really? Wow. Speaking of which, the future ex-Mrs. Hayne of Amy Nicholson of Los Angeles Times, top critic.
Could you at least pair me with men? I'm straight.
There you are. The stage superhero movie plays like classic sci-fi in which adults wearing sweater vests solemnly brainstorm how to resolve a crisis. Watching it, I felt as snug as being nestled in the backseat of my grandparents' car at the drive-in.
Okay, that's
I'm
weird.
glad you're old enough to have ridden backwards in a station wagon.
All right. Speaking of backwards in a station wagon, is there anyone else left? Ah, here she is. Oh, God, they're right next to each other. I will read them together, as they are both Robert Winfrey's wives. The future ex-Mrs. Carla Hay of Culture Mix and Carla Renat of the Kirby Film Critic. Oh, it's double trouble, Robert. You're in a threesome you didn't want to be in.
That's your tagline, not mine.
Well, if they're all married, it's not a threesome, it's a throuple.
Fair enough. That's the best thing you've said this entire podcast. It's an entertaining but not exceptionally outstanding improvement from previous Fantastic Four movies. Great action sequences and a unique plot outweigh the film's mixed bag chemistry and bland villains. And Carla Renata and Rob Sweetie. Although the first quarter of this film lags a bit from a plot point, in the end, the Fantastic Four is fantabulous. Oh, she said fantabulous. Fun and will delight audiences, young and old. Vanessa Kirby is a badass, ethereal beauty as Sue Storm. Carla, you never fail me.
No, she just fails herself, her parents, her society at large, and any of us who are subjected to you reading her words.
Speaking of which, the future ex-Mr. Alexis Hayne of Travis Hobson. You happy now? Punch Drunk Critics.
Well, happier.
The Fantastic Four First Steps has Panache, a retro future energy capturing the hopeful sci-fi tone of the 1960s. And the best of all, it's just a hell of a lot of fun. Well, thank you, Travis.
Supreme arbiter of fun over here.
Nothing really wrong with that.
No, he's just so dumb. Everything he writes is just fucking rock.
He's there to be eye candy.
I'll say, have we found our Tick Bird review then?
Most of the positive ones.
I don't know. Here,
I mean, Grace Randolph definitely would categorize.
This will be the last one. Let's hear from this lesbian, Rachel Leichman of the Mary Sue. The Mary Sue, Robert.
That's a big assumption you're making there.
Is it the Fantastic Four First Steps?
Oh, come on, look at that face and tell me that's not an asexual person.
You're not wrong. I forgot what year I was looking at. A likeness back to the. What are you huffing at? Like you don't know what podcast you're on. The Fantastic Third try. The Fantastic Four First Steps brings a lightness back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe that both feels like returning home while being entirely unique to Shakman's MCU style. It is what I wanted from this movie and so much more.
Okay, that is very Tick Bird.
This is the kind of person who a few years ago was like, boy, I sure do know what Hogwarts house I'm in, and I can't wait for that series to get out because I've made this fictional property at least 80% of my personality.
Speaking of 80% of the personality, we are done with this iteration of Damn You Hollywood, by God. Yesterday, Jesse and I had fun talking depressing movies. Youth in Trouble, that's what we did. We talked Bad Boys with Sean Penn. We talked The Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio. I will not start
Ma.
Ma. Oh, now you're making me do it. Ma, listen to me. Ma, you got to give me some money. It's not... Watching it was less funny to me than me doing the impression. I got to be honest with you.
That's
really
because it's
heartbreaking
not
scene.
funny. It's a tragic scene that you have rendered comedic via how you do it.
Fair. That is entirely accurate. Ma. So and then Over the Edge, which I'd never seen before. It's a hell of a movie. Neglected kids burn up a town. It's fantastic. So we did that. Wednesday, speaking of burning towns to the ground, Harry Broadhurst and I will be spending most of a podcast talking about the late Hulk Hogan, messy as he was, and then we will devote some time to the show that Harry made me watch, Scenic City Invitational, some indie wrestling thing that took 2 nights because Harry always has to give me extra homework. Thursday, we will be doing a Long Road to Ruin, the third one in a row, as a matter of fact, third week in a row. We'll be looking at the Naked Gun trilogy, so that'll be fun.
Is that you and Sean?
That is me and Sean. After that,
He's gonna hate the third one.
Super. Can't wait to talk about it. A week from tonight, we'll be talking The Naked Gun. You guys will do a second Damn You Hollywood for the movie Together Forever. Alexis and I will be reviewing Monsters Season 2, I guess it is, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. And
well, Season 3 is about ready to come out, isn't it?
In October, yeah.
Yeah.
And then a week from Thursday, I had to change dates on this. It'll be myself and Robert talking the 28 Days, Weeks Later's trilogy, which I believe by that point should be on streaming.
You might be able to find 28 Years Now.
Well, no. Well, wait, really? No, because I thought I thought I looked up the streaming date. Hang on. Actually, because I had to. That's part of the reason why I had to move it around.
You might be more right. Yeah.
28 Years Later streaming date. Available on Fandango at home. They should give a date. Pre-order, yeah, available to watch July 29th, and that's tomorrow. There you go.
Okay. So yeah, about now.
Right.
Where I assume it will come out a few other places between now and then, in case you don't want to
spend
what
$25.
Fandango charges. It's a minor miracle that in the wake of 28 Years Later, they actually did make 28 Days Later more available digitally, because for a period of about 15 years, you literally could not find that thing legally on the internet.
That's really funny.
I know that because I own a DVD copy, and I looked up how much I could sell it for, and it was not cheap.
So I'm not prepared to talk all the way about it yet. I'll talk once it drops. I will talk about it. But I finished an AI album, a longtime dream of mine to get this idea out of my head that my friend thought was a really funny joke, and I took way too seriously. It's done. It is on its way to being available on major music streaming services near you, like Spotify and Apple Music. It comes out this Sunday. I will talk about it on Monday next week. I will put it on screen, show you what it is, talk a little bit more about it. But I have an album coming out. Yay me. And
I imagine you received a boatload of just positive reinforcement from all the people on the internet when you talked about all the AI music you made.
Shut up. Also,
I'm proud of you. I'm glad you did it. I'm excited to listen to it. I'm just saying that's the internet.
Also, the Radulich Broadcasting Network, the album Volume 1 is finally done. We had our last sessions last Friday with Radulich Broadcasting Bingo and a bonus track, just to make a point to Jesse. So that's finally done. And initially, I had asked Jesse, are we doing anything with this? And he was like, yeah, we're going to let it sit here on Suno for people to enjoy. And I went, I'm unsatisfied with that answer. So we worked out a deal, Jesse and I, and that will also be made available on streaming very, very soon as I get down to the business of doing it. So look for that in the very near future. I expect all my friends to support me in listening to the album once it's on Spotify, if you have access to Spotify, or Amazon Music, or Apple Music.
I have none of those, but I will listen to it somewhere.
it'll be I'm sure you'll be able to find it somewhere. All right, roll your eyes, sell your wares.
Did you also mention the extra Damn You Hollywood tomorrow night with me and David?
Oh no, well it's not Damn You Hollywood. It's TV party, isn't it?
Well, it's a movie that's on Netflix. So actually, I didn't know if that classifies it as a Damn You Hollywood or as a TV party.
I thought K-pop Hunters,
Demon Hunters.
K-pop Demon Hunters was a television show.
It's a made for Netflix movie.
Then it's a Damn You Hollywood, and I think I don't even know if I classified it. And no, I did not talk about it. So go ahead.
All right, yeah. David Wright and I are going to be talking about the massive Netflix hit K-pop Demon Hunters tomorrow, which essentially is going to boil down to what's your favorite song, how awesome is the animation, and how is Netflix able to do what Pixar has been floundering to do when they don't have Toy Story attached to any of their properties.
Because the Netflix is able to cast a wider net, and they are not afraid of anime and all of its inherent both benefits and drawbacks.
All right, and other than that, this weekend, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. This weekend, we're going to be in Omaha, Nebraska for Comic-Con Nebraska. This is a first-year show. It's 2 days. It's going to be a lot of fun because I'm looking at the guests. They're looking at a lot more comic and animation-centric. Points, Robert, if you recognize the names here, Kevin Altieri and Dan Reba.
Reba sounds familiar. The other one doesn't.
Kevin Altieri directed several episodes of Batman the Animated Series. He is credited actually as having the most prolific career under that show underneath Paul Dini.
I believe it.
All right. But yeah, looking forward to that. This is being started by the same company that makes Emerald City Comic-Con, a handful of other shows. So this is a show that we really wanted to be with on the ground floor when they get started up. Looking forward to it. Then taking a week off and then heading to Colorado Springs Comic-Con. We do that one every year. Always have a lot of fun. Love going out to Colorado Springs. I love any excuse to go hiking out at the Garden of the Gods. That's a great place to go visit. In the meantime, everything is still available on our Etsy and Handmade at Amazon shops. They changed the layout, so I can't figure out how to put in my page anymore. I keep hitting and it's like, okay, do you want to put in slides or PDF or an extra camera?
And I'm just like, you share the same screen like you always do.
Okay, yes, allow. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, whatever they updated, it's messed with a few different things. I think they're half the reason my camera has been wonky. It messed up a little bit on me the last couple of times, but it kind of resolved itself before the show started.
All right. Well, yep. Our shop is totally stocked with fun, geek-themed jewelry upcycled from various game pieces. Again, if you're a fan of K-pop Demon Hunters, we have our new Huntrix and Saja Boys collection. And if you are actually a fan of Fantastic Four, one of our biggest sellers right now is our Fantastic Four inspired Scrabble tile hairbread. Each number, as you can see, is designed to reflect a different member of the team. It took me so long to figure out what I wanted to do for the one for Reed Richards without just making it look like, okay, and just it's a warped number. What the hell? It was really hard.
You came up this weekend because I can't remember why this started, or like what the conversation was about, but Jonas, but I started talking about your business, and Jonas goes, how many hours a day does Alexis take making jewelry? Like, not even just inventing new pieces of jewelry, like creating new stock, like restocking the stock you have already, because you have a lot of different pieces of jewelry, and obviously you don't sell every one, but you still have to remake stuff.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh my God, that's actually something that, because it does vary. Trying to think what the average would be here. I would say 9 to 10 hours a day.
Are you shitting me? Really? You have 9 to 10 hours of making jewelry?
Mm-hmm.
My God, haven't you not shot yourself?
Because I love what I do.
That's a fair answer to a dumb question.
No, for the record, though, I'm also going to include that with mailing orders, running errands for the company. It's not like I'm just sitting at my desk the whole time.
Okay, so how many hours a day are you actually dedicating to the physical act of making jewelry?
Actually sitting at my desk, pliers in hand, I would say, and it's going to be more 7 to 8 hours because I do spend a fair amount of time out picking up supplies and running errands.
That's still a lot. Wow, I had no idea. I never really thought about it until Jonas mentioned it. Genius boy that he is.
Like I said, I love my
Acknowledge
company.
my son's a genius.
Yes, your son's a genius.
Do it nicer.
Your son is just so brilliant. He puts Reed Richards to shame. Is that better?
I mean, it's a little more dramatic than I would have liked, but I don't have time to do another take. We're on a budget here.
All right. So, yeah, Honeysuckle Rose Creations. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, screw you, Twitter, and TikTok.
Robert, see if you can beat Alexis and my time in your plugs.
I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com, WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays. This last Saturday was UFC on ABC 9 from Abu Dhabi, headlined by Robert Whittaker and Rainier de Ritter. Decent overall card. You can find my full report in the MMA Zone at 411mania.com. You can also listen to me sort of meander my way through mental health struggles and insomnia on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, where I review that event. I preview the upcoming one, which lost its main event the day I was recording, and the announcement came in earlier today of a replacement main event. So I preview the card as I had it. They're back in the warehouse this coming Saturday. So yeah, that's the thing. I also talk a little bit about some fights that were announced and TKO lobbying to kill the Muhammad Ali Act. So yeah, that's a thing.
The world's going in a wonderful direction. I approve of every single thing that's happened.
Oh, you're just saying that because there's people listening.
You are correct, sir. I have seen the writing on the wall, and I am complying. I am also preparing my children, as a good father should. Well, enough of my Linda Hamilton ranting. Folks, this has been our review, as such, of Fantastic Four, First Steps, for Robert Winfrey, for Alexis Haina. I have TikToks to read. Be well, be safe, and behave.